Okay, recording is started and I will share the content now. So there are two chapters we are going to cover, which is chapter 2. Chapter 2 in this textbook, also chapter 2 in our syllabus. Chapter 3 in our syllabus is chapter 4 in our textbook. Jadi please make sure that you are referring to the right chapter. Of course, when they are deciding to put the syllabus, there's a bit of changes. The resource person put in such a way they must have some reason from that. Okay, so for this chapter, okay, this chapter is about sources of innovation. So sources of innovation, we are going to have this discussion on about this clean meat this coming Saturday, inshallah. So these are the things that you should have in hand since you already have all the textbook. But right, all the discussion of the case study is available and you can prepare it for next session. Okay, innovation can arise from many different sources and linkages between them. So it can be from firm, private, non-profit, government fund, individual and university. So based on the question that I gave you and the response that you gave me, I can see that everybody started to aware or you already aware of what do you have that can innovate your life. Some refer as process, some take it as the product. Whatever you do, it already influence your life. So after this, we are going to discuss a bit, whatever the response that you give to discuss on our final project, inshallah. Okay, so these are the parties that involve, okay, in become the sources of innovation. It come from many ways. So even in the university now, people started to force or to encourage people in the university to have the connection or to engage with industry such as firm, non-profit, or other government agencies as well as the individual. I think someone is joining now, is it? Okay. All right. And when we are talking about innovation, innovation actually is the last piece. Innovation is a product of creativity. So creativity is the ability to produce work that is useful and novel. Useful meaning that it will make your life easier. Novel meaning that something that probably added value to whatever you already have. That is novel. Something new. Okay, something new to the world, something new to the process, something new to certain areas. It probably is already being used in many areas, but it is probably is something new in certain areas. If we are discussing, for example, if we are discussing about um, online learning, before this, uh, not many university opt or prefer to use blended learning, even blended learning. But now, once pandemic hit, people start to move to remote learning, like it or not. Even some university or institution at the rural area, at the poor country, started to adopt or using this online learning. So to us, it probably not something new, but to these people, it's considered as novel. Individual creativity is a function of intellectual ability. For example, ability to articulate ideas. Articulate ideas meaning that you already have some idea and then you add more, add more, add more, add more. Articulate. And then knowledge, for example, understand, feel, but not what to paradigm. Jadi, when we are discussing about knowledge, knowledge is the ability for you to understand certain thing. Okay? There are so many people in this world that can learn, but how many actually acquire the right knowledge? So that's what it means. And then there are some possibility also. It's not wet to paradigm, meaning that it probably is not following the flow. It probably something that is a bit differ or a bit divert, but still it should work. Okay, it should work. Personality, for example, confident in own capability. Motivation, like rely on intrinsic motivation. Motivation consists of two types. One intrinsic and the other one is extrinsic. Intrinsic motivation meaning that your own self, whatever that you have inside yourself, like your values, your moral, your attitude, your spiritual belief, all of those actually are intrinsic. If you get the motivation from those qualities, meaning that those considered as intrinsic motivation. And environment, for example, support and reward for creative idea. This is a lot lah. For example, if we are participating any of the event for convention for any convention that allow innovation and also invention. So all of those under this category. Okay, organizational creativity is a function of creativity of individual within the organization and social process and contextual process that shape how those individuals interact and behave. Okay, creativity individual within organization happen when pandemic hit. Before this, especially to the lecturers that is old, okay, old lecturers or old lecturer, marah pula orang. Okay, senior lecturer, before this, it's very difficult for them to use online, to adapt themselves to the online learning. But because of pandemic, people started to be creative. Okay, they started to find ways how they can deliver, even though they are senior lecturers, young lecturers, new lecturers, all every level of lecturers actually trying to be creative in terms of delivering the content. Okay, method of encouraging tapping organizational creativity, idea collection system, for example, suggestion box, Google idea management system. This time, this kind of thing, sometimes it is about what do I think can improve? When I worked last time in my organization back when I still very young. Okay. In our company, actually, we have a suggestion box in which whatever you feel that you wanted to improve certain thing, you can put the idea in there. And the management really take the idea seriously. And also some creativity training program if needed, and a culture that encourage but doesn't directly pay for creativity. In government, I am not sure if for example government officers yang dekat sini, those yang working dekat SUK ataupun dekat custom, I am not sure either you have this kind of thing or not. But in university, we have what you call the KIK team. KIK stand for what? Meaning that you will create something in terms of, for example, the process or probably also the product. Okay, in the university environment. And they have the competition on KIK. I think every government agency have that, but I'm not sure. Okay.
Ada doktor,
Ada
ada.
kan? So
Uh,
jadi yang
selalu.
ni yes, siapa yang kena tu memang sakit kepala kan macam ni.
Si orang tu, ini orang
Aduh.
tu.
Kan? Sebab there's a lot of document you have to do. Yalah, benda tu satu hal, but the process you have to go through tu memang
Ya, ya,
banyak.
betul.
So actually it is under this part lah, creativity. Okay, translating creativity into innovation. That's why I say innovation, innovative product actually is the end product. What make we have the innovation product is the creativity. So innovation is the implementation of creative idea into some new device or process, and it require combining creativity with resources and expertise. Both. You need to have expertise and you have to have resources. You don't have resources, you have expertise, it doesn't work. You have the expertise, you don't have resources, so it doesn't work. So when we are discussing about inventors, okay, one 10-year study found that inventors typically have mastered the basic tool and operation of the field in which they invent, but they will have not specialized solely on that field. This is very true. When we are discussing about those who become the inventor, most likely they are not from that particular field. Contoh siapa? Kak Ramin. Kak Ramin. Kan, kalau siapa yang biasa dengan dia. Dia sebenarnya kalau nak tengok, whatever that he is doing now, something related with cooking. And has some manufactured, if I'm not mistaken, ada kilang about yang buat sambal dia tu. But actually he is from engineering. But still, he is able to do that because of the knowledge that he has, plus the interest that he has. Are curious and more interested in problem than solution. These are the people that can work everywhere. If you fall under this category, you should be feel very blessed. Those are people in this world that prefer to have someone in not a comfortable situation so that you can be innovative. So one of the example is the paper that I show you last week. No, the last Saturday. Those are the product of the problem. When you have problem, it make you think. What else can I do? What else can I do? I have to deliver this, like it or not. But the thing is that how should I deliver it the way it's supposed to be? Uh, jadi when we are lacking of resources, that is the best part of or the best part for inventor. Okay. Question the assumption made in previous work in field. Okay. I can say that majority of my work now, my decision of whatever I am doing in my teaching, actually all of those knowledge come from my previous work, not in education, not as a lecturer. Majority of the decision come from the decision or the knowledge that I get when I worked previously in private sector, and also when I worked previously as the network executive in UUM. It really support me super. For me lah kan. Because whatever knowledge and the ability, the skill that I have from back then, now I really, really use it. Okay. And then often have sense of knowledge, all knowledge is unified. They will seek global solution rather than local solution and will be generalist by nature. This is the best part. That's why I said, when we are talking about knowledge, when you are creative enough, you can see lot of things that can be done. People say pandemic actually restricted you from doing something. But for me, since pandemic, my timetable packed. I never imagined that I will go abroad to teach people with whatever I have. I have the opportunity to teach at other university at Jakarta, at Indonesia, at Pakistan, also at Middle East. So you just imagine, I once interviewed a potential candidate PhD from Toronto, Canada. So that is how what we said knowledge is unified. There are things that around the globe sharing the same thing, in which that will be that become what you call the opportunity for us to exploit. And such individual may develop a new device or process, uh, but commercialized few. Some of many inventors, like we already discussed earlier, the innovation part is many, right? But at the end, it's only two solution, or one solution. So that is normal. All right. And then um transforming creativity, innovation by user. User have a deep understanding of their own need and motivation to fulfill them, while manufacturer typically create innovation to profit from their sale. User innovators often initially create innovation purely for their own use. For example, this is an example lah. But for me, I am discussing about myself, how I innovate my own way of learning. The thing is that, yes, Hasiza already asked me, do you put everything, all your teaching material and recording in YouTube channel? Yes. The answer is yes. Because firstly, university allow us to do that. Second one, it's very easy for my student to access the information. And some of the information that I use in class also can be used at other people. For example, like when I become the speakers for um, any institution, some example, especially macam individual assignment for MKT 623, you can always use that as the guide for you, and you can always go there and review and see many times as you like to get the understanding on how to work out on understand on how to read the journal. Okay, so those are the user innovators. Same thing like, I also actually a creative writer. I joined my team My full team actually consists of people, writers around Malaysia. And our headquarters actually is in Bintulu. You just imagine that. Meaning, yes, I have my own thing. At the same time, I have my creative writing. Why I can do that? Because I find a way on how to utilize my time. How do I utilize my time? Basically, I manage my time to the micro timing. I call it micro timing. For example, like while you're waiting for something, what you do normally, you just browse. Maybe that will be the time for you to browse your social media and so on. But for me, that will be the time where I will use the keep note from Google. When we have Google account, we also have keep note. So I can always do the writing in keep note up to a point where if I wanted to make entry, creative entry for like 400 to 500 word, I can do it within 20 minutes. Uh, Meaning that while waiting, I already can complete. So those are the things that user innovative to your own thing. Same thing lah. Some of you, I think it's Madi code, talking about process of innovation dalam kita punya Google Classroom. Okay, and then these are type of research and development by firm, R&D. So research can be conducted based on two. If you're already taking research methodology, you know about this. Basic research is about understanding of immediate commercial application in mind. Basic research basically is something probably you never have that before. Applied research normally is about how to solve problems normally. Jadi this is another way how to understand it. So if, for example, you are doing a PhD, you are supposed to do basic research. Why? Because it is about development of theory, and theory is uh, is considered in academy is something that become the root of the knowledge. Tetapi if we are talking about the firm, okay, it is about something immediate commercial application in mind. So we never imagine that how today we are very dependent on our phone. We never think about it before. But now I think we can leave our wallet so long we don't leave our phone. When you leave your phone, you started to feeling problem. Kan? Bank ada dalam tu, everything semua ada dalam tu, appointment ada dalam tu. Paling susah nak buat bank transfer lah. Sebab tag akan masuk dalam ni kan. So development refer to activity that apply knowledge to produce useful devices, material or processes. Okay, so research R&D by firm. When we are discussing about science push, it approach suggests that innovation proceed linearly. Scientific discovery to invention to manufacturing to marketing. So science push meaning that when science can come up with something new. Okay, I have the opportunity to prepare grant, but we not successful to get the grant with our Timbalan Rector here, Professor Dr. Muhammad Azlan. They are doing about their research is about alternative energy. Meaning to say that they are looking for another way on how to produce energy if we do not use fuel. So these are the kind of things that force into scientific discovery. So one of the way ialah producing the methanol gas matana. Macam itulah kot nama dia. Dan dia orang boleh dapat daripada kawasan ayam. Kan dia punya chicken poop tu, semua tu dia boleh convert kepada gas makanan yang akhirnya boleh produce dan buat sebagai dia panggil energy, alternative energy. So those are the thing under scientific discovery. Demand pull approach argue that innovation originate with unmet customer need. Jadi from customer suggestion to invention to manufacturing. So this customer suggestion among those are the customer suggestion plus innovation. The combination of cameras and type of camera in one phone together with the smartphone. Previously, the camera we can say that camera tu is not that high end, but now we can see that even the camera itself, it has its own function and it has the ability to produce a very good quality photo. So for me myself, I can use this phone to take a photo of moon. Uh, but of course, we have to learn how to use it. But basically, I can do that and successfully capturing photos since I use Samsung Note 10. So those are things dalam demand pool. And most current research argue that innovation is not so simple and may originate from variety of sources and follow a variety of paths. This is very true. Um, because innovation is, even though a company probably have some goal to achieve at the end of the day, but not everybody will use the same path. Macam saya nak pergi Penang, there's a lot of path that I can take. I can use O road, I can use Federal Road, I can use highway. So same thing with innovation. Even though we have at the end of the day we wanted to achieve something from the innovation product, but how we go to achieve that may come from different sources and following variety of paths. That's what you mean. And firm linkages with customers, supplier, and competitors, and also complementers. So most frequent collaborators are between firm and their customer, supplier, and local university. So local university now playing a very important role. In fact, in Malaysia, we already have a grant that combine university, industry, and community. When we have this three tier, meaning that it really explaining about this. What kind of three tiers project that happen? Okay, one of those is that um uh one of my friend actually working with Maxis, okay, and my friend from USM working with Maxis from industry to provide alternative communication apa dia panggil facilities to the rural area in Sarawak. So they have a new way of trying to solve the issue of getting the internet for that particular location. So that is come under, they call it the three-tier project. Okay, external versus internal sources of innovation. So if internal sources, sometimes it is insufficient. We also need what you call the external sources. So to promote this, okay, like we in university, not everything we have the technology to come out with something. Okay, because like you at Temperlace, majority of us from science. So they have lots of innovation that related with their area. However, sometimes we are limited in terms of resources. For example, like type of lab that supposed to come to test whatever they wanted to test. So by having the external sourcing, actually they can work out together, collaborate with external sources, either from industry or probably also from the international universities work out through grant, so that both parties can get benefit from this project. Okay, university and government funded research. In university, actually, there's a lot of research funding related with innovation. Um, Up to a point where government support the innovation to provide a prototype. Many of my friends actually fall into this category, and some of them already have their product commercialized on shelf. Jadi kalau nak tahu, kalau macam ladies, we can see that some researcher from UTM yang work out dengan Sirim and then started to sell the cosmetic product based on natural ingredients, so on and so forth. So those also they normally start with the university government fund research. So government invest in research through their own lab, science park and incubator. Ini jenis yang macam for example, macam we have the incubators macam dekat Kulim high tech we have incubators. So in Kulim actually there are also some government project that they park in that particular incubator and grant for other public or private research organization. This is a lot actually. Okay. For non-profit organization, many non-profit organization do in-house R&D, fund R&D by others or both. So, non-profit organization normally they work based on interest and they are not working based on profit. However, this kind of organization sometimes also receive fund, especially when they have a strong relationship with certain parties in which another industry or another institution prefer to have the information from them. Among those, like UNESCO, okay, like UNESCO, they have lots of projects about human rights and so on, in which the fund R&D for UNESCO actually come from other institutions. So these are among the top non-profit organization that conduct significant amount of R&D. So this is basically the example. And this is the total R&D expenditure and percent of R&D fund by performance factor by country in 2015, meaning that our textbook is a bit outdated, yeah. But we can see that do we have anything? Okay. Welcome, Miss Madi.
Assalamualaikum doktor.
Waalaikumsalam.
Sorry, saya dengan tim Giat Mara baru sampai daripada Aman Jaya, Sungai Petani.
Tak apa. It's okay. No problem. Kita pun actually baru duduk kat tengah-tengah ni. And after this, you can always view the recording, insyaAllah. Tak ada apa yang terlepas sangat lah. Okay?
Thank you doktor, syukur Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. No problem. Faham. Sebab semua pun bekerja. Okay,
Baik.
so this is the last part of our chapter 2 is about innovation in collaborative network. So collaboration include but are not limited to. So these are some of the collaborative network that organization can have. One is joint venture, second one licensing and second sourcing agreement. Third one is research association, government sponsored joint research program, value added network for technical and scientific exchange, and also some informal network. So collaborative research is especially important in high technology sector where individual firm rarely possess all necessary resources and capability. Like I said, it's not like everybody have everything, every resources in their own setting. That's why all of these are needed. Sometimes you already have resources, but you don't have the expertise. Sometimes you have expertise, you don't have resources. Sometimes you have resources, you don't have expertise, but you do not know to which community you wanted to approach. That is another matter. Sometimes you have everything. You know your target community for whatever project you have, but unfortunately, you don't have the right link to extend the solution to the right community. So one of the project in UiTM Perlis, Alhamdulillah, we have a very what we call a very humble young man here that also part of community zakat and sadaqah in UiTM Perlis. What this man is doing, I really admire of what he can do. He is trying to like gather all the asnaf students from UiTM Perlis who are studying here by encouraging them to join a program. They call it the non-soil non-soil vegetable farming. It's very, very interesting. And you can it don't use any pesticide, and you can get the you can harvest within, I think, within 2.5 months. So now he already started with a small group and looked success, and now we are moving more. And in UiTM Perlis, this thing actually is one of the project under Green Campus, and not to mention that in UiTM Perlis also we have plantation faculty of plantation and agrotech. So you just imagine when we collaborate together even though in the internet environment, there's a lot of things that we can do. But the non-soil, yang non-soil vegetable farming, very interesting because they use different medium, not soil, but sufficient enough to grown up vegetable, and dia macam hydroponic but not hydroponic. And do not use any pesticide, and it's look good, dan memang cantik lah, memang cantik, proven. Okay. As firm forge collaboration relationship, they wave a larger network that influence the diffusion of information and other resources. The size and structure of network change over time due to changes in alliances activity. Previously, back in year 1995, everything is like very scattered simply because the information sharing and also restriction in communicating. Okay, but when the year 2000, this is where the web started to, the internet web thematic, they call it, started to come into picture, where everybody, normal user can start using internet. And that this is where Amazon started to have business online, and also the process of um, like bank transaction, online transaction started to happen in year 2000. That's why it started to scatter like this. Now, actually, it become more scattered. It's no longer like this. Technology cluster. These are the regional cluster of firms that have a connection in common technology. So may work in the same suppliers, customer, or complements. Complements basically are the people that can support each other in delivering or like delivering product and so on. So if we are talking about suppliers and complement, but like now in Shopee, kalau dengan Shopee kan, if you are selling product, actually from Shopee, it has its own supplier, and Shopee also can suggest some delivery service. Jadi those delivery service actually are the complement services for the firm. So we have what I call also the agglomeration economies. Basically, this is the proximity facilitate knowledge exchange. Cluster of firm that attract other firm to the area. Supply and distributor market grow to service the cluster. Cluster and firm may make local labor pool more valuable by giving them experience. And cluster can lead into infrastructure movement, for example, better road, utility, school, and so on. So when we are discussing about agglomeration economies, okay, normally, we are talking about some place where you pull all the clusters of firms. Jadi, if for example we are talking about Kulim High Tech, we can see what kind of firm in the Kulim High Tech. So, indirectly, somewhat, Kulim High Tech can become a technology cluster by its own. It can have what I call the agglomeration economies, where this cluster also can improve in terms of infrastructure. So when we are discussing about example of Kulim High Tech, okay, we can see like all of this is there. And we can see all of listed here is happening. Okay, where when we are discussing about agglomeration downside, sorry, it will increase competition, knowledge, leakage, congestion, and pollution. When we are talking about economy, there are some possibility that it also need to downsize. When we are discussing about downsizing, because of many things, I think we just take a break for a while. It's Azan here. Okay. Alhamdulillah, let start back. Now it's just baru habis azan. Also a good time for us to doa. So I just doa to Allah. May Allah give us, all of us, barakah knowledge, insyaAllah. May Allah answers all our doa. Dan mana berhajat nak pergi haji, nak pergi umrah, insyaAllah. Semoga Allah angkatlah kita menjadi tetamunya, insyaAllah. Dan semoga semua kita pun memang mendapat kejayaan dan keredaan dari dunia sampai akhirat, insyaAllah. Amin ya rabbal alamin. Okay, now we continue with our discussion. Okay.
Doctor,
Next. Yes.
just now you mentioned about agglomeration economies. Is it because of the cycle? That's why there's a downsize?
Okay, when we are discussing about downsizing, it probably because of the external environment. For example, now there are some of the government procedures, for example, may not favors this kind of investor. If you see, remember back in year 2000, if I'm not mistaken, there are many of industry in Penang shut down. Remember? And they shift their operation from Penang to Thailand. So all the big companies like Epson dulu ada, Western Digital, those kind of electronic company that were in Penang last time, remember? They move it to Thailand. So those are the example lah. So when they move and shut down the operation here, meaning to say that the area is already shrinking, downsize. So when downsize is happening, meaning that the competition becoming higher, there's a lot of things that we are discussing. You can discuss back. Right? Okay. So now I will share. So let's see. Can all of you see my slide or I am not sharing yet?
Not yet sharing, doctor.
Orang tua macam tu lah. Okay. I think now I'm sharing, yeah?
Okay.
So, likelihood of innovation activities being geographically clustered depend on nature of technology. For example, its underlying knowledge base or the degree of which it can be protected by patent or copyright, the degree to which communication require close and frequent interaction. So, some of the nature of the technology need that particular industry to be in certain location. Okay. For example, like the development of new application. Dia banyak dekat Bangalore, India. Why? Dekat situ dia ada dia punya IT, all the IT centers, all the expert, majority come from them. Industry characteristic.
Expertise.
Yes, expertise because they are really good in that. And also we can see some of products such as sport shoes kan. Macam kita tengok Adidas tiba-tiba made in Indonesia. Kita tengok made in China. Why is that so? It becoming like that because of some needs, okay, for the operation to be there. So industry characteristic, degree of market concentration or stage of industry life cycle, transportation cost, availability of supplier and distributor of the market. So these are also another reason why people need to have a collaborative network based on industry. Because there are certain industry need to be located in the area of its source. For example, if the industry related with charcoal, batu kan, that particular industry definitely has to be close at the supplier side. Okay. And the cultural context of the technology, for example, population density of labor of customer. This is the example of sport shoes. Infrastructure development. National differences in how technology developed and funded or protected. So, in terms of technology development and funded or protected ni, you can see the difference between China and the world. China, it has their own, they don't use Google. They have their own search engine. They don't use like Amazon.com. They will have their own map. They don't really use things like other people use for like WhatsApp and so on, they have their own WeChat.
Yeah,
You
Doctor,
see?
even for the apps, even for the mobile apps.
Ya. China memang pening kepala. Kalau pergi sana kan, we have to prepare our phone to be like loaded with their technologies. So last time when I studied in UUM, actually PhD at UUM at that time is only 30% from local, 70% from international and around the globe lah. And at that time also, we started to receive many students from China mainland. So when we are discussing with China student, it really different. For example, there's a lot of that's why I come up with this. They don't have YouTube, they will have something else. They don't have the social media that we have, but they have their own self. Okay, so if they wanted to use other than that, they have to use VPN, meaning that their own access to come out from their system to the world. Only they can access like us. So for me last time, even my friend cannot access Google Mail, Gmail. Really give us trouble to communicate, especially when she went back to homeland. Okay, technology spillover occur. One benefit of research activity of one entity spill over to another entity. When we are talking about spillover, dia melimpah. Likelihood of spillover is a function of strength of protection mechanism. For example, patent, copyright, or trade secret. Nature of underlying knowledge base. For example, tacit complex. Tacit, kalau macam knowledge, knowledge also we have two type. Tacit knowledge and explicit knowledge. Tacit knowledge, something in your head. Explicit knowledge, whatever that you already become the output of yourself. Like something you write, something you read, something you record. So those are the explicit knowledge. So when we are talking about nature of underlying knowledge, majority, some of the knowledge, innovation-based creativity come from here, in which we cannot find it. It cannot like something you develop. Sometimes it is talent plus technical skill. Talent plus technical skill. If you have both two, it will make you very successful and very valuable. And also mobility of the labor pool. This also can happen. That's why during pandemic, this technological spillover is happening. That's why I have the opportunity to go and teach people from outside Malaysia, almost around the world. I can go anywhere I want. And then they can also come to my class easily. I can just ask, can you join my class at this time? They said, yes, fine. So those are what you call the technological spillover. Dia boleh melimpah. And not only to your local community, but it also can go beyond boundaries. Okay, global. So we also have what you call the knowledge broker. This is about research brief. So Harden and Sutton, I really don't know how to pronounce their name, point out that some firm or individual play a pivotal role in the innovation network that is known as knowledge broker. So knowledge broker are individual or firm that transfer information from that one domain to another in which it can be useful applied. What does it mean is that this is a program of mentor and mentee. This is what I did with some of the group of lecturers in UPNV Jakarta. What I did was they already know about research. But the thing is that their research trend in that particular university still not really evolved to the needs of mainstream research globally. Not to say that they don't have research. They have their own way of doing things. It's not to say that they are wrong, because research is always about from where you get the school of thought, right? But the thing is that no matter how do you run or you are doing your research, you still have to follow the mainstream. Otherwise, your research will not produce a quality that will be endorsed by the mainstream researcher. Because as a scholar, that's what we want. We want our idea to be heard. We want our solution to be acknowledged, or at least can be referred to. But in order for it to be presented at the global market, we have to ensure that it should be acknowledged by the mainstream scholars. And how to do that? You have to make sure that your publication go into the what we call go into the index database. Okay, acknowledge index database. High end ataupun dia panggil Allahu Akbar. Auzubillah, saya selalu lupa pula. Selalu je sebut. High impact journal. Okay, high impact journal. Because high impact journal were endorsed by the mainstream scholars. So if I go there, I am not teaching everybody. I just teach like a small group of people, a small group of teachers, and then they will go out and started to spread whatever that we have learned in our small discussion. So that is what I call the knowledge broker. Dia macam pay it back. So that is all for chapter 2. It's already 9:08 p.m. So I think we should take a break for a while. I will stop recording.